G7 summit agrees on countering terrorism but not climate change. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Donald Trump attends his first G7 summit. Leaders of the world's leading industrial nations, the G7, have agreed on new action to counter terrorism at a summit in Taormina, Sicily. However, differences over climate change remain between U.S. President Donald Trump and the others, said the host, Italian PM Paolo Gentiloni. Mr. Trump and UK Prime Minister Theresa May reaffirmed plans to boost trade, including a post-Brexit trade deal. Mr. Trump has welcomed the UK's vote to leave the European Union. They are both attending their first G7 summit, as are Mr. Gentiloni and French President Emmanuel Macron. The G7 consists of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US, while the EU also has representatives present. Trump avoids diplomatic disaster in Brussels. NATO and Trump: what future for the Atlantic Alliance? What did they say about terrorism? They signed an agreement on tackling terrorism and extremism. Image copyright Reuters. Image caption: Mrs. May is leaving the summit early. The agreement says more should be done by internet companies to identify and remove extremist material. The summit comes just days after Monday's deadly bombing in Manchester, in which 22 people, including children, were killed. Why no deal on climate change? Mr. Gentiloni said the leaders had not managed to come to an agreement on climate change because the Trump administration was still considering its position. President Trump has previously threatened to pull out of the Paris Climate Change Accord of 2015. The question of the Paris Climate Accord is still hanging, said Mr. Gentiloni. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: activists want to highlight issues on climate change and world famine. Can first daughter save climate accord? Paris deal is lifeline for world's poor. What did Trump say about the Germans? Other G7 leaders are concerned the U.S. president might promote a protectionist agenda. German weekly Der Spiegel quoted Mr. Trump as saying in a meeting with European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker on Thursday that Germans were very bad on its car sales to the U.S., and vowed to stop this. Mr. Juncker later described the media reports as exaggerated, and said it was not true that the president took an aggressive approach towards Germany. Image copyright Oxfam. Image caption: Oxfam is asking the G7 to take a lead in the fight against famine. During his election campaign, Mr. Trump threatened customs duties in retaliation for Germany's trade surplus with the U.S., saying it owed vast sums of money to the U.S. and NATO. Speaking ahead of the summit, White House economic advisor Gary Cohn sought to clarify the president's position. What the president means by free and open is, we will treat you the way you treat us, meaning if you don't have barriers to trade or you don't have tariffs, we won't have tariffs, he said, according to Reuters news agency. Will Trump mean the end of global trade? What did Trump and Abe decide? The U.S. President and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe discussed the nuclear and missile threat from North Korea. They agreed to enhance sanctions on North Korea, including by identifying and sanctioning entities that support North Korea's ballistic missile and nuclear programs, the White House said. What else has happened in Trump's first foreign tour? Addressing a NATO summit in Brussels on Thursday, Mr. Trump insisted that all members of the alliance should contribute more financially on defense. Image copyright Reuters. Image caption: U.S. First Lady Melania Trump visited the Sicilian town of Catania on Friday. NATO states contributions are voluntary and a target of spending 2% of GDP on defense is only a guideline, but the U.S. is concerned that members are not paying enough. What future for the Atlantic Alliance? European angst over Trump visit. Trump avoids diplomatic disaster. The bloc later agreed that member states would report back annually on defense spending to NATO. It also said it would take a bigger role in the campaign against his militants, but France and Germany have insisted the move is mostly symbolic. The G7 summit brings Mr. Trump's first foreign tour as U.S. president to a close. Earlier in the week, he said he was more determined than ever to pursue peace in the world after meeting Pope Francis at the Vatican. Before that, he vowed to help Israelis and Palestinians achieve peace, as he ended the Middle East leg of his tour. He began his foreign trip with a 2-day stop in Saudi Arabia over the weekend, urging Muslim countries to take the lead in combating radicalization.